Paranormal Dimensions is a regular feature on Mondays on the Paranormal UK radio network. Any opinions or comments made by any guest are their own, and they do not necessarily reflect any of the presenters or network's opinions.
This is Malcolm Robinson and you're listening to the Paranormal UK radio network, the UK's biggest paranormal network, and this is Paranormal Dimensions with David Young.
Hello and welcome to the show. Thank you for that introduction, Malcolm. Okay, today we'll be delving into the world of cryptids, and more specifically American cryptids. The guest will be Kenney W. Irish, who's got a book out called American Cryptids in Pursuit of the Elusive Creatures. But just before that, if you'd like to get in touch with me at any time, my email address is davidyoung2qn@yahoo.co.uk. That's davidyoung, 2qn, all one word, at yahoo.co.uk. Okay, so cryptids. What exactly is considered evidence? Is it the unidentified howl in the dead of night? A lurking figure in the woods for no reason? Could it be a footprint that just could not be human? Maybe a picture of something that should not be? Regardless of what evidence is presented, it is always open for opinion and scrutiny. Some have created a false reality of who and what these creatures are and represent, made out to be fun, and in most cases laughable. Anyone who comes across one's path certainly does not walk away smiling, but always in a state of shock. Unfortunately, some distorted and weakened the perspective and understanding of the individuals who relentlessly pursue these beings looking for answers. From Native American folklore, dating back hundreds of years, to present-day monster encounters. In the end, when looking past the lights of fame and scripted entertainment, there is one aspect that remains, nor overlooked: the countless witnesses across the United States who claim encounters with what can only be described as folklore cryptids. So, I'd like to welcome to the show Kenney W. Irish. Hello, Kenney. Welcome to the show.
Hey, David. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me on. I appreciate it.
That's all right. I've been looking forward to this one. It's not very often I get the chance to talk about cryptids, especially in America, because you seem to have quite a lot of them over there. And
yeah.
We've got one or two in this country, but I've never met one myself, but I've heard a lot about them. I think we've only got things like big cats, and I think that I'm not sure if there's a Bigfoot type creature living up in Scotland. But I know in America you seem to have quite a varied amount of cryptid creatures.
Oh,
or
yeah.
cryptids, or do we just call them cryptids?
We could call them cryptids. We can call them creatures. I mean, I either way. I mean, I just love like the mystery behind it, and and how a lot of these we'll say creatures came to be, and the lore and legend over the years that have been passed down to where we are is just everything, not just the creature itself, but everything that all the stories that have been passed down from generation to generation, and for me it's just really intriguing, and it's kind of allows me to just kind of go off in my own world and imagination, and just kind of relax, if you will.
Yeah. Oh, you brought a book out, American Cryptids. And is that your first book, or have you written before that?
No, I've written a couple other books. One of my passions is writing young readers chapter books. So the first two books that I put out One was called Kevin in the Upside Down Halloween. It was for ages of right around 5 to maybe 9. And then I put another one out through Dark Moon Press Publishing called Stanley Riker and the Bigfoot Runaround.
Oh, I saw that one on Amazon, yeah.
Yeah, and it's done really well. It's fun, and so again, I kind of have that third grade kind of mind and mentality and imagination still at this age. So I love writing in that age group. But I did write my first young adult to adult manuscript. And then had it rebranded, and that's where we come to American Cryptids in Pursuit of the Elusive Creatures. So it's my first young adult to adult manuscript that's nonfiction. Prior to that, everything I wrote was fiction, so I can make it up as I go. So This was very different, and it was a real challenge, but I enjoyed it. It was a good time. It took me a while because my goal was to cover all 50 states, and one of the biggest challenges was, there's a lot of fact checking when you do a nonfiction book. You want to make sure, obviously you're getting your dates right and doing everything. But other than that, I really enjoyed writing it.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I have actually got your American Cryptids book. I'm very much enjoying it, actually. There's a lot of creatures or cryptids or whatever you want to call them that I've never heard of before. We've got things like the Wampus Cat, the Whipple Creek Screamer, the Alaska Kodiak Dino, the 9-foot fisherman, all sorts of different types of creatures. But I would imagine, obviously, the most popular, if you like, is the Abominable Snowman or Sasquatch or Bigfoot. Now, are they all the same creature?
It really depends, I guess, on who you talk to. Folks say that, depending on which part of like the country you're on or which country you're in, that they look different. They're very similar, in stature, but for the most part, like, some, depending on where you're at, could be 6 feet tall, some could be 7 feet tall, some could be 8. They say in the U.S., depending on which part of the U.S. that, land that you're standing on, that, the color could be different. It really depends, I guess, on who you talk to or what you study or what, I guess I'll say it like this, what rabbit hole you actually want to go down, when looking into, any of these creatures. Because again, it's one of those things where, it's seen as, an unidentified or undocumented species. So with that said, unfortunately at this point in time, like we can't go down to like our local library and, pull a book up on it, like we can for like black bears or something like that. So it really, I always tell folks, if you really want to go down a rabbit hole, start looking into cryptids and Sasquatch, and you will go down in some dark places.
Yeah. I mean, I never know. I kind of wonder do we put them in the Paranormal League, or are they just unknown creatures like you've said? I mean, there are theories that they could be interdimensional creatures and things like that, aren't there?
Yeah. I mean, paranormal is really, like a lot of folks, kind of see the paranormal side as like, like just ghosts type. But, paranormal is really, anything that's kind of, you really can't explain. So, I mean, it can definitely be put in the paranormal side. Again, a lot of people do it because, they'll say that they believe that they're ghosts. That they're spirits. Others will put them in paranormal and say that, based off that they're interdimensional and they can go through, secret doors in the woods and go to other dimensions. Well, you've got, the flesh and blood side that says, that's just, it doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, it really depends on, I guess, which side of the line that you're standing on. Me personally, I stand right on the line, so that way I can talk to both sides and get information from both sides because, Flesh and Blood and Paranormal, like they both have a lot of really valid points, valid questions. And, the next step too is, a lot of folks talk about them being extraterrestrial. And, that's why, when they say, folks have witnessed, lights in the skies or something in the sky that they couldn't describe, and somebody else said, hey, in that same area, I had an encounter with a Sasquatch. So, it really comes down, I guess, to, what somebody's belief is. I've had individuals tell me that they've actually, the reason they believe, it's like a ghost or spirit is that they've seen it disappear right in front of them, not like run away in between trees, but actually just right in front of them, just vanish. So it really comes down to somebody's personal experience, I would say. And again, until we can actually have, concrete, proof and evidence, right now in this subject, there's zero accountability, where people can kind of make it up as they go. So until we can kind of get past that and start, coming up with, being able to solidify real answers on what's going on, what it is, it's going to kind of be that rabbit hole situation where you start going down, and depending on who you talk to, you're going to hear different different sides of it. And again, I stand on the line, so that way I can turn and talk to different people, and I don't personally draw a line in the sand. I'm more on the flesh and blood side, but at the same time, again, with me, there's no line drawn in the sand saying that they have to be this or they have to be that. As far as the paranormal side, a lot of folks will say, well, how come, you'll see some footprints and then all of a sudden they'll disappear and there'll be no more. A lot of the time it's only a couple footprints that folks see. And, I did something when I was out in the woods one time, and I actually watched my feet and looked at my own footprints. And there were times, depending on, the ground surface or whatever, I left footprints, and in other areas I didn't. And so, so that leaves me the question, okay, is this the same thing that happens, depending on, if you're walking on a certain area of ground and then it looks exactly the same 10 feet away from there, but yet, there's a water bed underneath it, there's a bed of water or whatever, whatever's underneath the soil, where it's lighter, so you might leave a footprint. So again, there were times where the ground looked exactly the same, where I left footprints and I didn't. So, again, that doesn't mean that, I'm right and I proved anything, but all it did was bring more questions, I guess, than answers.
I was going to ask you what are your views on the paranormal point of view, but I think you've covered that quite well. But I'll just throw this one at you. Do you believe in things like ghosts and UFOs, and do you find them acceptable?
I guess it helps to a degree, kind of, for some folks, kind of explain what they don't understand. For me, I'm a firm believer in not trying to, I guess, BS anybody. So yeah. I'm a firm believer in saying, you know what, I don't know. I don't 100% know. Cause, every time I think I'm kind of getting somewhere with the subject, I kind of, something else kind of comes up and pulls me in a different direction. Yeah. So as far as, I mean, could they be extraterrestrial? Absolutely. Yeah. I had somebody, say to me, well, first of all, the government knows about them and they are extraterrestrial. And that's why, when you watch Star Wars, where do you think Chewbacca came from? And the guy was dead serious. And I'm like,
some could well be, couldn't they?
I never thought of that. So, and that's the thing. It very well could be. We know, the government recently in the last year, mentioning that, they have been looking into, unidentified flying objects, and, that they do exist, but not giving any more information than that. That actually opens up a door. Well, maybe that could be an answer to some of the things that we experience and that folks have seen and encountered. But I always laugh because it's always funny, that the U.S. government comes out and says, hey, you know what? By the way, UFOs exist and the coronavirus is going to kill you. They wait for a pandemic to come out and then just kind of slide it in there. So
yeah, sort of change of subject. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Deflection. Redirect.
So, so what is your favourite case in the cryptid world?
Yeah, I would say that my favorite cryptid would be without a doubt Champ, the Lake Champlain monster. I grew up in northern Vermont, not far from Lake Champlain, and it just, I grew up a big fan of Godzilla and King Kong, and for me, it's just the thought of growing up near a lake where there was like a Godzilla type monster living in there.
So is it a little bit like look, you've got the Loch Ness monster here, apparently.
Yeah, right.
Is it a bit like that, is it?
Yes. Yep. Very, very much so. Very much so. Very, very, very similar. I'd say, some of the differences, looking into, both the lake creatures is the Loch Ness seems more, kind of like plesiosaurus type of, creature where, Champ seems more of like a reptilian type of snake type, creature. Right. But, both, living, said to be living in the lake. And, but growing up, when somebody said, lake monster Champ, again, I automatically pictured Godzilla. Godzilla's living in this lake. And, but yeah, very, very, very similar, in sightings, but again, there's conversation on which is which, and there's some folks when it comes to Champ that believe Champ is of the plesiosaurus type of era, but then there's others that really believe that it's more reptilian and like snake-like, which that's kind of where I'm on, because with Champ, a lot of the sightings, there's been multiple humps in the water and the head up. So, to me, that kind of, like a plesiosaurus would be like one hump.
Although we have had some sightings like that for the Loch Ness monster. You get like a snake type creature. Nobody's actually ever seen the Loch Ness monster properly. So it's
right.
But I have seen some photos of what looks like a snake type creature, which could be a neck or something. But does it date back a very long way? I mean, how far back do those sightings go?
Oh, they go for Champ. I mean, they go way back. I know that there was some folks that were in Vermont that were on the Vermont side, because Lake Champlain bumps against New York and Vermont. Right, yeah. And there was some they were building the railroad through there, and they had claimed to have witnessed and seen Champ in the water. And I mean that was back, I can't, the date escapes me, but for some reason I'm thinking it was in the 1700s. Samuel D. Champlain, they mentioned that he had supposedly had an encounter. Some folks say that it's actually not true, but again, there's written documentation that he had. So I mean, the thing is like, for instance, like Lake Champlain used to be part of the Atlantic Ocean. It used to be all one body, and over time, the glaciers came in, and then the ocean receded, and it turned into Lake Champlain, a freshwater lake. So I have to believe to a degree that there's got to be a way, if it was connected at one time, there's still got to be a way that it's somehow connected, somewhat underground. There's got to be something. So I would believe that, if there's something that's living in that lake right now, that it's something that, is prehistoric and, has travel ways underground that we haven't yet discovered. Because again, I mean, it was all connected at one point in time, and then eventually, it split. So again, I have to believe that there's waterways, and I've had, individuals ask me, well then, how can it be a freshwater lake if, it's still connected to the ocean? And I would have to believe that, with it going through groundwater and tunnels and different ground surfaces underneath, to agree, the earth can kind of also be its own filtration. Yeah. So, cause, I always say it like this. Folks talk about how, the world is almost covered with water, 100%. Well, in my opinion, the world is 100% covered with water. We just have islands on top of the water that we call countries.
Yeah.
So I believe it's all connected one way or another. The water's all touching each other one way or another through one avenue or the next.
Yeah, I mean, we've only got to look at something. Water does find its own level, so I'm sure you're right. There must be lots of underground waterways. There are the same sort of theories with the Loch Ness Monster, aren't there, anyway, as well?
Yes.
That there are underground waterways that he could travel through. I say he, but it's obviously a family could well have been living around, couldn't it? I don't suppose it's the same creature. Would you think it's the same creature, or do you think there's sort of there's been a family that have been breeding?
I would have to believe, like every other, creature on Earth or even human, everybody has their expiration date. So I would have to believe, that they will eventually, die off, and that there's got to be something there that would be able to, sustain some type of reproduction. So, without a doubt, I believe that there's more than one. So, as we say, the Loch Ness Monster, or we say Champ, the Lake Champlain Monster, I don't necessarily believe that, all the eyewitnesses have seen the same exact, creature every single time. I believe that, over the years, again, as one dies off, another one, a family member or something, makes itself known.
Yeah, so there's obviously got to be more than two anyway, at least,
Agreed.
So, that's one I've never actually heard of. Obviously if it's your hometown, you would know quite a lot about it, but, it's one I've not heard of. In fact, there's quite a few in your book I've not heard of, which are all, as I said, some of the, titles they've got, like the Green Swamp Ape and Route 1 Beast. Now, have you actually travelled around the States a lot, sort of, exploring these areas?
No. Now here's the thing. When I went to write this book, what ended up happening was I kept writing the same book that everybody else wrote, meaning Chapter 1, Wendigo, Chapter 2, Chupacabra, Chapter 3, Bigfoot, and I was like, everybody's already done this. I gotta do something different. I've gotta do something different here. How can I write something different, and make it more personal for individuals who are reading it, in the States. So, that's when I came up with the idea that, I want to actually not just write a book for people to read, but when they read it, I want them to also feel like, I'm taking them on a journey through each state. So there was no way I was going to be able to visit all 50 states. There was just no way I was going to be able to do that. And, at the end of each chapter, I've got, a recorded Bigfoot sighting. And what I didn't want to do was I didn't want to go online and just Google search Bigfoot sightings in the state and then just, put it in my book. I didn't want to be that guy. So I was like, okay, well, how am I going to get to all 50 states in order to talk to witnesses that had encounters? So I got the idea, well, I'm still going to use Google. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Google Maps. And what I did was I pulled up each state and then I found like an area that was, really covered with forest land and, trees and just looked really thick and kind of out there. And I zoomed in on it. And then I found the closest town next to it. And then I researched the town to find out, find all the diners, the mom and pops, corner stores, the barber shops. And I simply picked up the phone and I called each location and said, hey, I'm writing a book. I heard that there's been some Bigfoot sightings in your area. What can you tell me? Who can I talk to? And that's how I was able to get an encounter from all 50 states because, again, I run a business during the week, so it's like I can't leave. So that's how I came up with it. I talked to a lot of different individuals. I'd say I probably talked to like three different people from each state. In the encounters that I went with that I put in the book, I went with the individuals for the most part. I'd say about 98% of the encounters I went with were the individual who, one, didn't believe, number two, wasn't looking, and number three, it changed their life. So those were the ones I was looking for, because for me, somebody who's out hiking, never even thought twice about it, and then they come across and have this encounter that they can't explain.
Exactly.
That really, really would resonate with me, and you could hear it in their voice, and like I didn't want to look for Bigfoot researchers and be like, hey, what can you tell me? I wanted like real, raw encounters, that happened. And I had individuals that I talked to where, they talked about their encounter lasting like 10 minutes, which that's so uncommon. The average encounter is usually seconds. They see the creature or whatever, the creature runs, they run, whatever. So again, I'd say out of the 50 states, 48 of them were ones that weren't already recorded, documented encounters. Some people I had to talk to, they finally got on the phone with me, and I actually kind of had to play salesman to kind of get them to open up to me to a degree to tell me the encounter. And those for me really, really resonate because, somebody that's out looking for, these creatures, they can tell you, they can give you all kinds of detail, arms swinging, this and that. The people that, with the encounters that I went with, they were the people that were like, smelled something, saw the creature was gone. It did this or it did that, but then it was gone. So again, for me, it really resonated with me talking with individuals that were willing to open up and talk about it. But prior to that, had no history of any type of interest in the subject.
Yeah, you tend to find that in the UFO, family as well, that anyone that's been out and they suddenly come across a UFO and they're a complete non-believer in UFOs, and suddenly they see this thing and it completely changes their lives.
Yeah.
Did you ever get anyone that didn't want to open up to you?
Yes. Yep. There were people that definitely didn't call me back. And then there were people who I got on the phone and they just kind of backed out. And the thing was, I let them know, hey, I'm not going to put your name in here. I'm not going to do this because, for some people it was, really, they've got a career in something that they didn't want it associated with. So what I decided, because of the encounters that I was going with, the majority of the people really, they wanted to talk to somebody about what they saw, and they were very hesitant about it going into a book. But I had to, I was able to reassure them that, I'm not going to mention your name. This is just going to be the county and the state. I'm not going to mention your name. I'm not going to mention this. I'm not going to mention that. There were folks that said, it's okay. You can use my name. In the end, I didn't use anybody's name. I said, I'm going to keep it 100% solid. I'm going to keep it consistent. And the reason I didn't want to use anybody's name, even when folks told me that it was okay, was I didn't want to accidentally misread my notes and then actually put somebody's name in there thinking that they wanted it.
Oh,
and
right. Yeah, that's easy to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the thing is, if you're writing, 12 chapters, 15 chapters, that's one thing. But I was writing, 50 chapters plus, another chapter 51 talking about evidence, and so it was a lot of information to put in. So I'm just like, I'm going to stay consistent. I'm going to I'm just not going to put anybody's names in it. And I told people, I said, I'm going to shred my notes after, once it's in the book, I said, I know what your name is, but I've got your number right here. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to shred these after, because I really respect you taking the time to talk to me and tell me what you told me. So I kept my word. I went through and I shredded everything. So,
wow. I don't think I could do that,
What's that?
I don't think I could do that.
And the thing was,
Do you regret that?
I didn't want to.
Right.
I didn't want to. I wanted to keep it. But again, my whole thing was, these people gave me their time and their story. And so I was just like, you know what? Once the book's written and I've got these chapters done, and it's going to go in for editing, I'm just going to shred everything. So I don't have their numbers anymore. Could I get them? Yeah. I mean, I could reach out, to the same locations or whatever and do it. But, the thing is I have no reason to. I don't think the people want to hear from me again, So, to do the right thing, by these people, that entrusted in me.
Yeah, I can understand that. But
Yeah,
I think
so-
I'd find it so difficult. I mean, I even keep all my little notebooks that I keep for these shows because I'm often scribbling things down as we talk and all that.
Yeah.
I've got sort of like a couple of books in here that I probably won't ever dive back into them again, but I just don't want to destroy them, just in case I do want to dive back into them.
Yeah.
But yeah, very interesting. I mean, did you get any audio recordings at all from people, or did that not happen?
I didn't get any audio recordings from folks. They had told me about, vocalizations that they had heard. But, I'm actually with a group called the New York Bigfoot Society, and we go out, like we study all cryptids, but, the group started just focusing on Sasquatch. And we've got some recordings. We don't have any vocalization recordings, but, we've got, returned tree knocks. Cause one of the things we do when we go out is we put up, trail cams and we put up digital recorders, to try to pick up, different sounds and hear different things. Cause there's times where, you'll get a picture on a trail cam and it's kind of a blur. You don't know what it is, but if you got a digital recorder near it, you can kind of compare the time stamps and go, okay, I hear something growling. So, this sounds like a bear, or this sounds like this is this or that. So you can kind of use the two, one to answer the question on the other one. But as far as, recordings, like I said, we definitely have some, before I was with the group, the founder of the group, his name's, Gary Robusto, great guy. He also has done a paranormal investigation for like 26 or 27 years. Very, very knowledgeable. And he's got different other recordings and different things from when I was prior to me being in the group. So, he'll do lectures from time to time, and, he'll show he'll play those, clips and the videos, and, it's really, really, really interesting because, when you go over everything of what it could be, but it's not that, and then you can't explain it, that's exciting.
What your gut feeling? Do you actually believe that Bigfoot exists? And does he exist in different areas of the states as obviously different creatures? Deep down in your gut, do you really believe it?
I've got days where I am like deep down, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And then I've got other times where, I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. I keep, I'd say I probably 90% believe that there is. But that 10% of skepticism is a strong 10%.
Yeah.
Which is healthy, and it keeps me focused. It keeps me on my toes, and it keeps me from getting lazy too. And what I mean by that is just saying, okay, well, this is what this is. I think that skepticism also keeps me open to crossing lines and standing on lines to talk to different individuals who believe a certain thing. Because again, if I'm 100, I feel like, there's a lot of people and that are 100% in whatever their theory is and their belief is, where it actually shuts down conversation. And so again, there's enough evidence out there. I always say it like this. There's enough evidence to suggest that there's something.
Yeah.
What it is, we haven't 100% been able to confirm. But again, I mean, there's enough evidence to suggest that there is a Sasquatch-like Bigfoot creature out there. What it is, we don't know. Is it the same type of creature every single time? Maybe, maybe not. But I think we're going to eventually get those answers.
Yeah, kind of where I was coming from there. I meant, it kind of keeps you hungry, I suppose. You've got to have that little bit of skepticism within you. Otherwise, if you're just a flat-out believer and you're not actually coming across this creature at any time, that's going to destroy your belief, isn't it? If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I've always said that, I'm the type of person where I guess I don't want to believe, like, I want to know.
Yeah.
Like, for me, like, believing is, I just want to know, like, when you believe in something, and I'm going to speak for myself here, sometimes when I believe in something, I can get overzealous and overpassionate. So, I want to be able to keep myself, in a level, state of mind and thinking. And so again, I don't necessarily want to believe. I want to know. I just want to know. Which, to me, maybe that's the same to some people, but to me it's very different. Because, when you want to believe, like, it becomes very, very personal.
Yeah.
But to want to know something, it's personal, but I don't know, for me it's just very different. Stuff that I believe in, like I believe in God. That's very personal to me. I don't want to just know if God exists. Like, I want to believe in God. So, for me, it's very, it's very personal, and that's how I see it. And again, it could be different for different people, but
a lot of people see God in different ways, don't they? That's kind of, some people say God is within you, and some people see it as a living being all of his own. So it is a very personal thing. I agree with you. So the society that you belong to, the Bigfoot Society, you must speak to a lot of people. I mean, do they think the same way as you? Do they think that, have they still got that little bit of skepticism, or are they out and out believers, or are they sort of like a mixture of people?
It's really a mixture. What we did recently, this was happening before I joined the group, but, the founder, Gary, he, ended up starting an ambassador program, because we covered just New York, but New York's big. There's Western New York, there's down in New York City, there's upstate New York.
Yeah, I mean, people often think of New York City, don't they? But of course, New York, like, as you say, is a big state. Yeah,
New York City's a small little crumb compared to the whole actual state. So he started an ambassador program. So for folks that live in other parts of New York, and so they became an ambassador for the New York Bigfoot Society, meaning they're an ambassador. They are part of the group, and because we can't, if somebody calls up and says, hey, out in Western New York, hey, I had this sighting, this and that. Well, for us to be able to just get out there, we can, but sometimes it's going to be a week, 2 weeks. So we've got, somebody that lives out in that area that can go out and investigate and look into it. And not everybody, believes the same exact thing, which I like and I think is healthy. We've got some folks that, can look at pictures and look at trees and put the red circles around them and say, hey, look, I see a face, this and that. Usually, groups try to have one mindset, but, we've kind of we were kind of like that at first, but we kind of pushed it aside, because we wanted to hear other people's ideas. We wanted to know where other people were, and the reason that they were thinking what they were thinking. So, I would say no. We definitely, again, we've got folks, that believe, 100% woo, paranormal, disappearing, extraterrestrial, folks that believe that it's, that it's just flesh and blood. But the thing is we come together as a group and a community group and talk about what we've seen, and because there's so many different theories of what the creature could be, why it's here, how it gets around, that The NYBS ended up starting a side project called Project X, which went and used, looked into it. Could it be paranormal? Could it be this? Could it be that? Did different types of, experiments, if you will, different tests to try to, get some type of credible data to justify this claim or bring, validity to, a certain theory, which, again, the NYBS has never done that. So it was, Project X was more, I would say, kind of, looking into the paranormal side of it. Right. And, there was some interesting feedback, that came back, and, especially, for, the founder of the group, who, he's 95% that they're flesh and blood. For him to actually, put this project together, it really just shows, he wants unity within the community and the subject to really look into what folks are seeing and what they're saying that they're seeing. And he's got an education and background in animal behavior. So if he's out in the woods and he sees something or he hears something that someone's like, I don't know what that is, he knows what it is. Because again, that's his background. He's also a survivalist, avid, rock climber, hunter. He's the type of guy where if somebody gets lost in the woods, they send somebody out like him to go find them and bring them back. Yeah.
Always handy to have someone like that around, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's one of the main reasons initially I joined the group was, one, I started talking to him, via Messenger on Facebook, and then I went out to one of his lectures, and where I was very, very, very weak, which is like wilderness survival skills, he's very strong. Yeah. And I'm like, I just didn't want to, join a group where, a bunch of people are just like, hey, this sounds cool. Let's make some matching t-shirts with their name on it and go out. I'm going to be the guy. I'm going to be the guy who's going to fall and break my leg. Yeah. I already know it. It's going to happen. So, I wanted to be able to go out again with somebody, that
who knows what to do if that happens. Yeah.
Exactly. And they're more comfortable in the woods than they are in their own house. So, and that's Gary all the way around. Great guy. And he's an individual that it'd be fantastic to have him on your show. You'd love talking.
Yeah. I mean, if you send him my way, I'll actually try and get a hold of him. It sounds good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But do groups talk to each other? Like one Bigfoot group will talk to maybe someone in California or something like
that. The groups, yeah.
They compare notes and things.
Yeah, I'm friends with folks all across the country, and in other countries, we talk. Hey, we saw this, we saw that, and again, that's the beauty of technology when it works right. That we're able to do that. There's people all over the U.S. right now that I plan on getting out to their area at some point and meeting them face to face and going out with them, and they're going to be coming up to our area, and it's when you go at the subject with a degree of a mind that is, you've got your theories, but a part of your mind open enough to talk with others, you're going to meet a lot of awesome people. Yeah. And, there's in the community, I mean, you can be in those groups and you can be around those negative people that no matter what you do, they tear you down. Or, you can just, be open-minded enough to talk with everybody and find out who those people are in advance. So that way you're not associating with them. I mean, I'll associate with anybody, but, if they're just like, well, this person, this is what they think, they're an idiot, or they say, I don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah. I know the type you mean. Yeah, you get them everywhere.
Yeah, that's not my thing, or somebody's like, oh, well, they hang out with somebody who's a known hoaxer, this and that. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I'm friends with these people. I came in contact with them because of a similar interest in the subject, but I'm not friends with them because of cryptids and Sasquatch. I'm friends with them because they're other human beings, and my relationship is based off of friendships.
Yeah.
Was there again? There was, it's like me and my wife. We've been together 23 years now, and it's not based off of the function that we went to or whatever in order to meet. It was, we love each other because of who each other is, regardless of any function or how we met. And it's the same thing when it comes to the subject of paranormal or cryptids, extraterrestrial. Maybe that subject brought us together as friends, but after that, if you're my friend, you're my friend, and we're not always going to talk about Bigfoot. We're not always going to talk about that. Like I'm a people person, and so it's deeper than that. And I've got friends that get a lot of ridicule for some stuff that they've done and some stuff that they're doing now that people don't necessarily approve of, but that's between them and whatever they're doing. That has nothing to do with the fact of whether I love them or not, and they're my friend.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from. And what do you feel about the TV shows we get about hunting Bigfoot and things like that? They seem to be I don't know, they always seem to get nowhere to me.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, we all know that, a lot of them are based off of entertainment, and we do know that, a lot of them are scripted. We understand that. But the big thing that I'm seeing is that one, they're not fine. If they went out there and they easily found something, then it's like, okay, well then what have we been doing the whole time?
Yeah, that's true.
The one thing that I say when I have people say to me, oh well, the show's fake, this and that. Well, whether it's fake, whether it's not, the thing is, if I'm watching a show and the people in the show are all actors, that's one thing. But these shows that are out, the people that are in the shows have been doing this for years before the show, they were even approached about the show. Yeah. So in reality, let's say they're on there, and like, a lot of people, talk about the show Expedition Bigfoot, how it's scripted, this and that. And I just say, you know what? Who cares? This is where I'm at right now. I'm going to judge these people based off of, what did they do prior to the show? Oh, they went to acting school. Okay, well, that's a little different. But the people that are in these shows have been doing this for years. They're real investigators, they're real researchers. And you can't always look at them as in like, oh, well, they said this, they said that. I filmed in some TV, and I'm as soon as it airs, I know they're going to take certain things that I said and splice them together.
Yeah.
That's what editing and producing does. I look at it like this. I look at the person and who they are and what they were. If somebody's just, faking and they're an actor, then whatever. I have no interest in it. But I'll watch a show that is scripted, but they're real people in there that have a real background in the subject. I'll watch that. But for me, TV is entertainment.
Yeah.
If I'm not the one out there doing it, for me, I'm watching it because it's entertainment.
Yeah. No, I can appreciate that. I mean, I think when some people watch these shows, like Hunting Bigfoot or whatever, they think that at the end of the series, they're going to find Bigfoot and they're going to show you absolute proof of it. But it doesn't work that way, does it?
No, and the thing is, again, some of these, guys, they've been doing this for years. They're legit guys. They really, they want to know, and, and they've had encounters with something that they can't explain, so, like for instance, the show Finding Bigfoot, like Cliff Brackman. I mean, the guy's brilliant. He really is. The more I look into, Cliff, and, he talks about, foot impressions, and, he's a real smart guy. He's been doing Bigfoot for a long time. And, a lot of folks think, he didn't start doing Bigfoot until Finding Bigfoot.
Yeah.
It's like, no. And, I'm actually excited because, this month I'm actually going to get to meet him because I've always wanted to meet him. There's a festival called the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival in Tennessee, and I'm one of the speakers at it this year. It's myself and Cliff, so I'm going to actually get to meet Cliff, so I'm pretty excited about that.
I was actually going to ask you about that, because it's very shortly, isn't it? 22nd of May, is it?
Yes, yep.
Yep, so I know you did tell me about that. So, yeah. Who else is going to be there that you might be excited to meet?
There's Ron Moorhead's going to be there. Last I knew, he's the gentleman that recorded the Sierra sounds.
Right.
And there's another gentleman there. I can't remember his name. Is Mike Dupler, I think. He's actually from Tennessee, so that'll be good. But I hope that, all goes good with myself and Cliff, because, in November, I'm going to be in Lexington, Kentucky at the, Crypticon. I'm speaking at that one too, and Cliff will be there. So let's hope we get along.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you will. I mean, you've got a lot in common.
Yeah. Well, the whole crew from Finding Bigfoot is going to be in Lexington at the Crypticon. Matt's going to be there. Renee's going to be there. Bobo's going to be there. So I've never met Bobo. So I'm excited. I'm excited to meet him. Because I love his character. Yeah.
How about people? Have you met Nick Redfern, for instance? He gets around quite a bit.
Yes, he does. He does. That's another gentleman I've never been able to meet.
He's a Brit who lives in the States. He lives in Texas. I think it's just outside of Dallas. I think he lives.
Yeah. He lives. He lives in Texas. Ken Gerhard lives in Texas. And Ken's a friend of mine. Are you familiar with Ken Gerhard?
I think I've heard that name, but I'm not all that familiar with him, I must admit.
Yeah, he's traveled the world. He's been on a lot of TV shows. Real good guy. He wrote the introduction for my book, American Cryptids. But yeah, very, very, very knowledgeable.
Well, I've been back to the beginning and have a look at that. Yeah. You may be. Yeah. I think the reason it sounds familiar is I probably didn't know the pronunciation of how you're saying it. So when I see the name, I'll probably, that's who it is. Yeah. I'll probably. I've seen his name probably. That's what it is. Oh, it's exciting. Yeah. So in the Smoky Mountains Bigfoot Festival, whereabouts in the Smoky Mountains is that?
It's in a town called Townsend.
Okay.
I've never actually been to Tennessee in my entire life, so yeah.
Oh well, I've got one on you there because I've been there a few times.
Oh, nice, yeah. It's in it's going to be held at the Townsend Community Center. Right. I guess they've got some like auditorium there. So I'm in upstate New York, so I fly out on the 21st, and land there on the 21st, and then the festival's on the 22nd, and then I fly back out on the 23rd, back to upstate New York. Right. So I'm bringing my daughter with me. My daughter, she just turned 16, so I'm surprised that she wanted to go with me.
She'll probably find it exciting.
Yeah.
So how's the flying going over in the States? I mean, 'cause all the flying's been restricted worldwide. Are the flights been carrying on as usual?
To be honest with you, since the pandemic, I haven't flown at all. I haven't had a reason to. So I don't even know. I've heard people say that, they're hard to get flights. I've heard, folks say that they're pretty expensive, depending on where you're going or where you're flying out of. But, other than that, I mean, this is the first flight I've booked, in a couple of years. So, and it was just the normal for me. Just went on, just found the flight. The price looked normal to me. So I don't know. I mean, I haven't, again, been in a situation, I mean, that I've had to fly. There were certain situations where I was supposed to fly last year to be at different events, but all the events got canceled.
It was the events themselves that got cancelled, wasn't it?
Yep, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think we understand over here that the flights have carried on as pretty much as normal in the States. It's just the international flights that have come to a grinding halt, really, more or less.
Right, agreed.
The Smoky Mountains is a beautiful area. Anyway, I've been there a couple of times. I think I went to Dollywood. I think that's in the Smoky Mountains there somewhere. And of course, Tennessee I know quite well because I'm a big Elvis fan, you see, so I've been to Graceland quite a few times, and Nashville and all that sort of stuff.
Sure, yeah, I'm excited about it because, like I said, I've never been there. And then in November, I mean, I've never been in Lexington, Kentucky, so I'm excited about going there. So
I think I've been to Lexington many years ago. Probably.
Man,
I've been around. I have been around quite a bit. Yeah, I must admit. Or whether I'll ever be into the States again, I don't know. But I suppose time will tell. The way things are going, I don't think I will be.
Yeah. Agreed.
What about over here? We've got a fellow named Malcolm Robinson who did a lot of investigations into the Loch Ness monster. Have you heard of him?
I haven't. No. You said Malcolm
Robinson. Yeah. You'd probably be interested in talking to him. Actually, he's a Scottish paranormal writer. He's written about UFOs. I think he's written about 8 books at the moment. He's got a book called The Monsters of Loch Ness, which is quite a thick book, which you'd probably be interested in. But he's one of the few people that have been in Loch Ness in a submarine, in the small submarines, you know.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I don't think they ever found anything, but of course he's very interested in the history of the Loch Ness monster, much as you are. Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, just to sort of close out, would you like to tell us one or two little tales about a couple of other creatures? Something maybe like the 9-foot-tall fisherman, or the roadside leaper.
Yeah, well, sure, absolutely. I mean, the roadside leaper is pretty much an encounter where it was your very common encounter where the individual was driving down the road and they see something kind of in the distance on the side of the road. They're not exactly sure what it is. And it didn't walk across the road. It kind of like leaped across the road, kind of had like a leap kind of jump to it. And then unfortunately that was it. The witness didn't see anymore after that. After they went by, they couldn't see anything. And, again, it was one of those common road crossings where, the individual isn't expecting to see that or encounter it. But there's so many of those that happen all the time, and it's crazy. Somebody says, well, if they're trying not to be seen, why do they run out, in front of a car? And it's kind of like, I'm like, well, I don't know, why do deer run out in front of the car when they don't want to be seen?
Or are they a ghost of some kind? Maybe they had an accident there. I mean, and also we're going into the paranormal part. I mean, I've heard of them over here as well. We've got people that are seen at the side of the road. I think people have even picked people up and put them in the back seat, haven't they? And then they've disappeared off the back seat.
Yeah. I mean, there's one individual I talked to where he said, he's like, oh yeah, I've seen a Sasquatch. I'm like, you really? He's like, yeah, I've seen, Bigfoot. I've seen, a lot of them. I'm like, really? How many? He's like, oh, hundreds. And I'm like, oh, come on.
Right.
Come on, man. Sorry, I can't continue this conversation with you.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I know of somebody who told a whacking great tale of about the Bigfoot it was in the New York State actually. He said it was about 9-10 feet tall and was watching it to rip a deer apart and everything. I've actually got him telling the story. I'll have to send it to you.
Sure.
You might like to put that in your library. It's quite hilarious actually. I'll tell you one more. What about I don't want to put you on the spot. How about the Whipple Creek Screamer?
Sure. Yeah, the Whipple Creek Screamer. So if I remember right, that encounter took place. There was an individual who was living in a trailer and his power ended up going out. So he ended up going out to around the side of the trailer where he had a generator. It was a common thing for him to lose power, so he went out to start his generator. And when he got out there, he was fighting with the lock, trying to get the lock off, and he started yelling. And then shortly after that, he ended up hearing this loud woman scream type of vocal that just like just blew his mind. Just it hurt his ears, and he turned around, and in this thicket area of the woods, there was this tall, dark figure standing there. You could see the eyes, and it was looking at him, and it let out another scream, and he ended up, taking out his pistol and shooting at it, and he ended up calling, allegedly, called the authorities, and the police came by and checked it out, and there was no blood in the area where they saw it, and I guess he got reprimanded about having a pistol and shooting it and not knowing what he shot at. But one of those things where you get your back turned to something, and then all of a sudden there's this scream that comes out of like nowhere, like it's answering you, and to turn around and see that. By chance, he had his pistol with him because it was nighttime and he was going out to, start his generator. But it was kind of chilling, because if you can picture that in your mind, it being dark, and, you're already frustrated, and then hear a vocal like that, not far from you, like 40, 50 yards from you, and to turn around and, see something that you cannot describe as something you've seen before, and you can't put it in a category looking at you.
That's right. To actually see something, I mean, as you know, a deer can make a lot of really weird noises at night. You've heard deer screaming. They've got they sound like babies screaming and things like that, don't they, sometimes? But to actually see something, rather than just the sound, which could have been a deer or something. Interesting story. Well, Kenney, thank you very much. It's been fascinating talking to you. Now, you've got websites and things that people can go to?
I do, yeah. You can find me on Facebook under Kenney W. Irish, the cryptopunkologist. You can go to my website, which is www.kirish.k. What the heck is my website address?
Right. I'll put it on the Paranormal Dimensions page anyway, but I'm sure people can track you down, because Kenney is spelled Kenney.
Yep. Yeah, it's kwirish.com.
Yeah. Okay, right. KW.
So, and it's the cryptopunkologist.com as well. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram under Kenney Irish Author. So there's plenty of ways, you can reach out to me. You can find me through the New York Bigfoot Society Facebook page as well. So I mean, other than that, you drop my name in Google search. There's all kinds of, a lot of the time my website it's like, if it's not the first thing that pops up, it'll be the second or third. Right, so, definitely, reach out to me, and, definitely love to talk to, whoever, wants to.
That's right. I mean, anyone listening to this, if they've got any Bigfoot stories or any other cryptid stories, reach out to Kenney. And your book is American Cryptids in Pursuit of Elusive Creatures, which is available on Amazon. Is there any other outlets it's available on?
Last I knew, you could go to barnesandnoble.com and get it as well. Wow. You can get it directly through me. The Amazon's obviously the quickest and best way to get it, because usually people already have Amazon pulled up anyways. But the book's done very well. It actually hit #1 on the Amazon bestsellers list.
Excellent, so it is a very interesting. As I say, I've got a Kindle version. I'll have to get a printed version now. Perhaps I'll get a signed one off you. I'll have to. If I send you the money, Kenney, I'll have a signed version off you.
Sure,
that'd be great.
Yeah.
But,
absolutely.
Anyway, it's been great talking to you, Kenney. Thank you for sparing the time. I've got to tell everyone, we did try this the other night, didn't we? But it all failed. It all fell over, so we had to do a second attempt. But we made it this time after a bit of a struggle to get logged on. But we made it in the end. But anyway, Kenney, thank you very much. It's been fantastic talking to you, and I hope to talk to you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
And good luck on your trips, and. Perhaps I suppose you'll be writing about them on Facebook and everything, or writing down what happened and everything. So that'll be something else to look forward. But I'll put links and things on the Paranormal Dimensions page. And anyway, I'll let you get on with the rest of your day. And thank you very much, Kenney. Good luck to you.
Awesome. Thank you,
All
David.
Right. Cheers, Kenny. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, thank you very much to Kenny W. Irish. What an interesting show that was. Okay, I'd like to close out the show by playing something that's been requested once again. This is a track by a very good friend of mine, Canadian singer-songwriter named Preston Williams. He lives in London. It's a homage to Chief Seattle and his letter to US President Franklin Pierce in 1855. As I say, I've had quite a few requests to play it again. I normally play it at the beginning of the show, but I'm going to play it out on this show for a change. And I hope you like it.
The great chief in Washington sends word that he wishes to buy our land. The great chief also sends us words of friendship and goodwill. This is kind of him, since we know he has little need of our friendship in return. But we will consider your offer, for we know that if we do not sell, the white man may come with guns and take our land. How can you buy or sell the sky, the warmth of the land? The idea is strange to us. If we do not own the freshness of the air and the sparkle of the water, how can you buy them? Every part of this earth is sacred to my people. Every shining pine needle, every sandy shore, every mist in the dark woods, every clearing and every humming insect is holy in the memory and experience of my people. The sap which courses through the trees carries the memories of the red man. So when the great chief in Washington sends word that he wishes to buy our land, he asks much of us. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons of the earth. Man did not weave the web of life, he is merely a strand in it. Whatever he does to the web, he does to himself. But we will consider your offer to go to the reservation you have for my people. We will live apart and in peace. It matters little where we spend the rest of our days. Our children have seen their fathers humbled in defeat, our warriors have felt shame, and after defeat they turn their days in idleness and contaminate their bodies with sweet foods and strong drinks. It matters little where we spend the rest of our days. They are not many. A few more hours, a few more winters, and none of the great tribes that once lived on this earth or that now roam in small bands in the woods will be left to mourn the graves of a people once as powerful and hopeful as yours. But why should I mourn the passing of my people? Tribes are made of men, nothing more. Men come and go like the waves of the sea. Even the white man whose God walks and talks with him as friend to friend cannot be exempt from the common destiny. One thing we know which the white man may one day discover: our God is the same God. You may think now that you own him as you wish to own our land, but you cannot. He is the God of man, and his compassion is equal for the red man and the white. This earth is precious to him, and to harm the earth is to heap contempt on its creator. The whites too shall pass, perhaps sooner than all other tribes. Continue to contaminate your bed, and you will one night suffocate in your own waste. But in your perishing you will shine brightly, fired by the strength of the God who brought you to this land and for some special purpose gave you dominion over this land and over the red man. That destiny is a mystery to us, for we do not understand when the buffalo were all slaughtered, the wild horses are tamed, and the view of the ripe hills blotted by talking wires. Where is the thicket? Gone. Where is the eagle? Gone. And what is it to say goodbye to the swift pony in the hunt, the end of living and the beginning of survival? So we will consider your offer to buy the land. If we agree, it will be to secure the reservation you have promised. There perhaps we may live out our brief days as we wish. When the last red man has vanished from this earth, and his memory is only the shadow of a cloud moving across the prairie, these shores and forests will still hold the spirits of my people, for they love this earth as a newborn loves its mother's heartbeat. So, if we sell our land, love it as we've loved it, care for it as we've cared for it. Hold in your mind the memory of the land as it is when you take it. And with all your strength, with all your mind, with all your heart, preserve it for your children and love it as God loves us all. One thing we know, our God is the same God. This earth is precious to him. Even the white man cannot be exempt from the common destiny. We may be brothers after all. We shall see.
You've been listening to Paranormal Dimensions on the Paranormal UK Radio Network. I'm David Young. Thank you for listening. I hope you'll join us again next week. Paranormal Dimensions is a regular feature on Mondays on the Paranormal UK Radio Network.
Stage one, you create a problem. It could be a manufactured virus. You want a reaction, and you want them to either say, do something, or you want them to accept what the authorities suggest must be done. So one of the agendas is to massively cull the population. They want to reduce the numbers.